Hi you guys, I'm Sheree from the library, and this month I have brought you some of what I think are some of the best chapter books out there. Kids anywhere from 4th grade to 9th grade would love these. All depends on what you like to read and what you think is fun. So this month, November, is Native American Heritage Month, and so one of the books that I wanted to highlight is a book called Res Dogs. Now you can see that this is a really thin book. It reads really fast. I think I read it in an hour, but it goes even faster because it's a novel in verse. And I love novels in verse because you feel like the main character is telling you the whole story and you can know everything from what's going on in their head. This is about a girl who is visiting her grandparents. She is Native American. Her grandparents live on a reservation. And while she's visiting with them, coronavirus breaks out and everything is shut down, and now she has to stay there. So she knows that her grandparents will take good care of her. She also tries to help them as much as she can, helping them out with Zoom and things on the computer. And when one of the dogs on the reservation starts hanging around the house, she brings that dog into the family as somebody else will look out after him. It's a fantastic story about everything that just happened to us and about how a Native American community that has always taken care of each other comes together with coronavirus and also reaches out to take care of everybody in their community. And once I started thinking about that, I was thinking about Thanksgiving and pilgrims. And while these books are not about pilgrims, they are definitely about immigrants who come to the United States looking for a better way of life. This book is called The Only Road. This is the same book in Spanish if you want to try to read it in a different language. And it's about a boy and his cousin who live in Guatemala, where gangs and violence are growing in their city. The kids are getting bullied. They're getting pressured to take part in gang activities. And finally, the families decide that they need to send the kids to live in Texas with the boy's older brother. They pay somebody a lot of money to be responsible for the kids and take them to meet up with the brother, but he ends up taking all their money and they are on their own. Too far from home to turn back, too far away from the brother to count on him. So they have to figure out how to get from Guatemala through Mexico to be able to contact the brother in Texas. It is a terrifying story. It's an adventure story. And it's just amazing how strong people who are trying to find a better life can be. I've mentioned this book before when I've been in classrooms. This is Refugee by Alan Gratz. He's one of the greatest authors. Everything you read by him will be fantastic. But I thought about this one particularly around this time because it's about 3 immigrant kids. One is a boy who is trying to escape with his family from Nazi Germany, a Jewish boy. The second one is about a girl who lives in communist Cuba in the 1980s and is trying desperately to get to the United States with her family. And then the third one takes place in present day, a boy who lives in Syria, which is a country that has been torn apart by civil war, and he and his family are desperate to try to get out because the country is now in rubble and their survival is at stake. Now, all 3 of these stories made me feel like I was holding my breath because what was going to happen next, and they're terribly, they all face terrible dangers. And then the really cool thing that Gratz does in most of his books is he brings all those stories together. They were connected in a way that I had never even thought about. So fantastic book, Refugee, Alan Gratz. And then my all-time favorite book by Dave Eggers, who has written a lot of great books, is Her Right Foot. And even though she wasn't there to welcome pilgrims, this is the story of the Statue of Liberty, who's welcomed a lot of immigrants to America. And it talks about who had the idea for the statue, how the statue was built. It was a gift to America, how she got here, and all the people that have seen her and learned about her history. Now, a friend of ours, Charlie, was the Statue of Liberty for Halloween, and we think this would be a perfect book for you, Charlie, Her Right Foot. And then because it's Thanksgiving, that makes me think a lot about family. And I want to talk about LeBron James's new chapter book. He's done a picture book. This is his new chapter book, and it's called We Are Family. And it's about a group of kids who are on a basketball team, excited to come back from their summer to play in the fall playoffs. And their coach announces that he's sick and can no longer help the team. And the kids on the team, all who want to play basketball for different reasons, have to figure out, are they just going to give up, or are they going to find a way to come together and have their basketball season? Great book by LeBron. Loved it. Fast book. I hope your family shares it too. And then I always think about animal stories in the fall for some reason. Makes me really aware of nature and everything that's going on out there. So this is a book that some of you may have heard about over the years. It's called Pax, and it's a story of a baby fox who is rescued by a boy named Peter. He names the fox Pax, and they are best friends. But when Peter's dad, who is in the military, says they have to move to a base where animals are not allowed, he convinces Peter that they have to set Pax free. And so they drive Pax to the woods and set the fox free and get in the car. And as the car drives away, Pax waits patiently for Peter to come back for him, because he always has. And as time goes by, Pax begins to realize that Peter is not coming back. As soon as Peter gets home, he realizes he's made a terrible mistake, and he goes back to look for Pax, but has a lot of things come up on his way. In the meantime, Pax doesn't know how to survive in the wild, and so he is alone in the woods. Now, some pretty terrible things happen, but it turns out pretty good. I will tell you, there is now a sequel, and it is called Pax Journey Home. So in this book, Pax and his partner have their own kits. When one of them turns up terribly sick, he has to find a way to make a connection with humans to get the baby the help that he needs. This was as good as the first one. I love them both. I hope you read them both as quick as you can. Share them with your family. Read them as a group. My family loved Pax so much, we ended up naming the next dog that. And then last but not least, I want to mention The Genius Under the Table. Now, this is not about an American immigrant. This is about a boy who lives in Russia in the 1950s. But it is so funny what this kid experiences living in his grandma's house, and eventually decides that he's going to create his own world that he ends up drawing on the underside of the table that he hides out under to try to get away from his crazy family. If you like a funny book, if you like a book with a lot of great drawings, this is for you. It's not a long book, but really funny and based on the author's true story. So I hope that you find something amazing here to read. Remember, all of these books are available at the Monroe County Library System. If we don't have it at the branch that you go to, you can request it and we'll get it sent to you. You can also go online and request the book, and they'll send it to you whichever branch you're at. So please feel free to request any of these, or come on in and browse and find something great for yourself. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.